Welcome to Beyond Sunday at Seymour Heights, a podcast created to go beyond the Sunday service experience, exploring some of the deeper questions of our faith and offering additional content from behind the scenes and from the cutting room floor. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Harrison Berry.
Hi.
I'm glad you're here, man.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Our story goes back a while. I remember when your parents got married, but I'm not going to get too much into that. But
I don't remember that.
You don't. That's very true. What I would like to see is, would you let those in the listening audience know a little bit more about who Harrison is and how you are connected to the church here at Seymour Heights?
Sure. So I grew up at Seymour Heights and have been here all my life, so 27 years. My grandfather was the lead pastor here for 27 years before he retired, and didn't really retire from preaching, but retired all the same. And so I've grown up here. I've been through all the ages of family ministry, and then it's just fun staying around and seeing how Seymour Heights has grown and changed and evolved into what we are now.
Yeah, definitely a legacy, as you reference Bob, your grandpa, right, and what he did in the time he was here. But like you said, right, you never retire from preaching, right? It might look different, right? And for him, it looks a little bit different. Right now, they're actually, you could probably tell this better, but they're actually across the world, right?
Yeah,
doing some work in Uganda. Mm-hmm. That was a guess, so I'm glad I got that right.
That was good.
But it's exciting to hear just kind of that connection for you too. And so, of course, Bob was here, and then your dad, Tim, and mom, Stephanie, were both here at the church. And then they got together and had you, and now you've been here. And so what is it like being a third generation member of the church through your family history? What's that like?
I mean, I guess it's kind of a hard question because it's all I know.
Right.
I haven't gone outside of the Seymour Heights family, and so there's a lot of people I know, right, and there's a lot of people who know me, but then there are even more who don't. So it's an interesting dynamic of people who knew my grandparents and who I guess know my grandparents and know my parents and my family, and then people that I get to also just establish my own relationships with. So there are people who I know through my family, but also just on my own, especially in like youth group and 456 and the areas of family ministry where Jessica and I serve. So
yeah, it's always a fun transition, right? When it's like, oh, you're Bob's grandson, or oh, you're Tim's son, right?
Yeah, and I don't get that a whole lot.
They switch to they see Tim or Stephanie, like, oh, you're Harrison's dad.
Sure.
You know, they switch the name of who the identifier is. But
yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, what's it look like for you now? Of course, you've got two children now, right? And so what does that look like raising your boys in that same church environment you grew up in?
I mean, it's a lot of fun. Parenting in and of itself is fun, and I'm enjoying it. As far as raising them in the church, I just hope that what we are doing as parents is benefiting them. I mean, and that's my greatest desire for them is
right,
that they will grow up to be. We have two boys, and so to grow up to be godly men, faithful men who are boldly walking by the Spirit is what Jessica and I aspire to try to instill in them with whatever capability we have, which doesn't seem like a whole lot.
Yeah, there's a point. Maybe if you have referenced this too in your time, is you talk to God and you're like, I don't know that I'm capable of this, or that I don't know that you made the right choice.
Right. Well, and it was pretty recently actually. I was talking to God and I just said, God, I'm tired, I am jumbled, and I'm weak. And he said, oh, good. Well, that's when I do my best work. And I just, okay, yeah, I got it.
Well, even stealing some time away to talk to you today, I know it's a lot. And so if you had a thought here to share with other just young fathers, men trying to get into careers and still stay plugged into the church and God's word. Is there a piece of advice or encouragement that you would want to pass on to them? Because it is hard. It is busy.
Yeah.
As a dad and trying to work and take care of all that stuff too.
Yeah. It is, and there are lots of fun times, and then there are also plenty of hard times where, I love this child so much, but why am I so angry? Or I want the best for you. Why are you fighting me when I'm trying to change your clothes? Like, if you would just let me do it, it would go a whole lot faster, which is something that God tells us all the time. And I hear it constantly when I'm telling my son something, and then I hear God telling me the same thing. And it's just that friendly reminder of, I got you. Quit fighting me.
Yeah. And that's a solid reminder for all of us, right? It's a different stage, right? Your youngest does not fight you that much because he is not very old, but then your oldest is coming into that I can do it myself stage, right?
Yes. And it's fun because he's starting to learn that independence, but he's also very helpful, and he just wants to help. Right. And so it's
how endearing is that though, as a dad, to see that?
It's delightful.
Yeah.
I love it.
You're like, that's what we're trying to do. This is good.
Yep.
And why do we do this? This is the connection that my wife and I try to do with our daughters is when you have those moments, when you see them doing that, it's like, let's connect that back to God and God's word too, right? Like you're not just being good to be good, right? You're being good because we want to honor others and find ways to serve them. So well, I appreciate you taking that little rabbit trail there. If I could make a personal switch, one of the things we like to do on the podcast is to encourage people to get into God's word. And so if I could take a couple minutes and see what have you been reading lately? What's God been saying to you through that?
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks because I have a 45 or 50 minute commute either way to and from work. And so as I was listening to a lot of audiobooks, and then I realized that listening to the whole Bible only takes 90 hours. And a lot of these books that I'm listening to are 20 or 30 hours. And I thought, well, that's only 4 or 5 books. Right. Like it's not a big deal. So what I've done is I've started listening to the Bible on my way to work, and then I'll listen to an audiobook on my way back.
We are friends, Harrison.
And I can get through, according to my calculations, I think I can get through the Bible in about 6 months.
Yeah.
So I've just finished the whole thing earlier this month, and I've started over.
Yeah.
And kind of have.
I love listening to the Bible, right?
I do too, but I still prefer opening it and having it in front of me. I just feel like I can digest it better.
Right. There's a nice kind of pairing of that too. One of the programs I've talked about on here is Dwell, and it's a daily reading. You can listen to the whole Bible, of course, and you can put some music behind it and stuff as well. But what I like about it is with their daily devotional is reading along with it while I'm listening to it. And I even do that through the Bible app when I'm not driving, right? When I've got that flexibility. But I love when I'm driving to work, my commute's not quite that long, but it's about that 20 minutes that I can pop it on and listen to the words. Right now I'm going through it chronologically. Yep. I don't know that I've ever done it 6 months. But my goal is to get it in under a year, right? That I can do that. And there's sometimes seasons of life, right? Where I can maybe do 3 or 4 days at one time. Right. There's other times you're like, hold on.
Yep.
So which one are you listening to? Are you listening to the one that has the different voices for the different characters?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Well, this is for next year.
Okay. Yeah. I just have the basic. I think it says dramatized, but it's only one narrator.
Okay.
But
there's a lot of great resources, and so that's what we would encourage everybody is find ways to get into God's word, right? So that's what you've been doing.
Yeah.
But what's he been saying to you through all of that?
Well, there are a few things. There are a few things that come up quite frequently.
Okay.
And I guess theme-wise, the latest one has been rest. And the verse that sticks out most prominently is Exodus 14:14. And the Israelites are right to the border of the Red Sea, and Pharaoh's army is coming up behind them, and they're calling out to Moses, and they're like, why'd you bring us here? Why don't we just go back to Egypt and die? We would have been better off. And Moses says, calm down. The Lord will fight for you. All you need to do is be still. And so, and then he splits the Red Sea.
Yeah.
And so it's this moment of literally rock in a hard place.
Yeah.
And no solution in sight. And Moses says, oh, just be still. God will fight for you.
Yeah. Can you imagine, though? I mean, it's a large group of people already at the Red Sea, right? So there's animal noises, there's people noises, and then the uprising, right?
Yep.
This is not 10 people right around Moses that are uprising. It's a lot of people that are, anxious.
Oh, yeah.
But can you imagine, let's be still, let's be quiet. And maybe they start to come down a little bit. And then all you hear in the background is the, I don't know how far out you could hear Pharaoh's army, but they're not going to be quiet.
Yeah. No.
Coming. No. Are we still being still?
Yeah. Are you telling me that I'm just supposed to sit here?
Right. Because if we could dive into the story for a second, it's not even the fact that that they got close enough to it. God did things at that moment to keep them away.
He changed Pharaoh's heart so that they would chase the Israelites.
Right. Just to drive that point home.
Just to drive the point home, so that you will know that I am God.
Right.
Constantly, over and over and over again.
What a great story. I love, I think I've shared on here before too, but to go further back in the story of Joseph, right? Mm-hmm. And how they got to Egypt in the first place, right? Yeah. And then they get to a place where it's like, listen, I'm okay being in slavery. Things are good here. And God had another plan and to get to a place. And how many times I think as they were leaving Egypt, that they said, man, we would have been better off in Egypt. Yep. I think it's at least twice, if not three times. That's like, listen, God, why did you bring us out here?
Right.
And like, because there's a better plan.
Yep.
That's what he says to us, right? Yep. It's like, just trust me. And so I appreciate the words to just be still.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other one that I've been reminded of a lot is just know my voice. John 10, Jesus talks a lot about he's the shepherd in the gate and his sheep know his voice. And if we don't know his voice, how do we know what we should be listening to, what we should be doing? And then there are a lot of voices in our head. And so what voices are we listening to?
Yeah.
And
social media, the world we're surrounded by, commercials, whatever, that's telling us so many different things, right? And so an opportunity for us to say, okay, God, what in all of this mess, be still,
right,
so that I can hear your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Powerful words, man. That's encouraging.
And
it works for everybody.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
It's absolutely universal.
Yeah. And it's not new. But it's refreshing, I think, when you're challenged with that. And maybe that's part of it, too. It's something you can find accountability in, right? Yeah. To somebody say, hey, have you rested recently?
Well, and it's liberating, too, because you come to realize that, it's not about what I do. I should say it's not about what I produce. It's not, I don't have to fight the Egyptians.
Right.
I don't have to row across the Red Sea or go around it. God's going to do it for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that solution better.
Yeah.
I just have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Even when I don't see it.
When we don't see the end of the story.
Yep.
Yeah. That's hard. It's hard. It's one of those things through life, right? God doesn't ever promise you that you're going to get to see the reasons why things happen even, right? But there's times where you do.
Yep.
You get to have those little light bulb moments. You're like, I know why that happened. And that's encouraging.
Right.
Right. I think sometimes he lets us see that because he knows we need that little bit of encouragement. And so, wow. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, man.
You're welcome.
That's an encouragement. And before we wrap up today, just to give you kind of the freedom is there something else on your heart to share or to ask, or maybe somebody you want to say, hey, I'd like to hear you next time on the podcast?
I can't think of anything.
Yeah?
No, other than...
It's time for some rest.
Yeah.
I get behind that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're glad that you joined us today. And as we wrap up, remember that change can start with little moments where we can practice our faith and grow in our relationship with the Lord every day. We look forward to seeing you at church soon, and we'll catch you next time.